Hey everyone, before we start the episode, we have a quick announcement to make. Some exciting news for PHP Podcast coming up this next week.
So Mike and I recently purchased an entire eBay store. So we're talking about 500 plus items of pre-selected inventory, and we want to sell it all on Whatnot. So if you're looking to source items, or maybe you want to pick up a few things, or you just want to join us this coming Monday, September 5th, 2022, Labor Day.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about it is we're going to be selling everything for dirt cheap. We just want to move this stuff quick, have a fun experience. So if you're already on Whatnot, make sure you're following us so you don't miss it. And if you haven't been on Whatnot before, join up using the link below in our description in the show notes, because if you join up with that link, you're going to get some kickback. It's going to help you out. It's going to help us out. We'll be winning and making money together. So make sure to use that link. It's going to be a great time, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Enjoy the show.
Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 308, an update episode.
Yeah. Another update episode. And this is exciting. Our update episodes, if you're new to PHP Podcast, these are a chance to kind of share what's going on in our life, reselling, what's going on in the reselling world. We do some reselling topics and news, and then go over some important things. And we talk about BOLOs, the things you should be looking out for, things that sell well. So make sure to check out the whole episode, because we've got very valuable information.
So these have been interesting times. You know,
it's crazy time.
Well, yeah, okay. That's an understatement. Like, if we said that back in 2019, it would have been like, oh,
I'm just thinking personal.
Well, I think both. But we all have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's talk about reselling, though. How are things for you?
Yeah, good, man. I mean, I've got a big move coming up here in literally the next few days. By the time this episode drops, like I probably will have started the move process, which is annoying to have to move all of my inventory again. Like it is a nightmare. So one of the things, and I've mentioned it on previous episodes of like kind of looking forward to and something I wanted to do, is I wanted to get rid of a lot of the bigger items that I had, or things that I thought like maybe weren't necessarily bad buys, because I do have bad buys. I didn't go and look through all of those, but things that I just haven't listed yet. Like there were some electronics, I had some like PlayStations, things like that. I had a couple, like a stroller, things that like take up a lot of room in my trailer or my shed. And I was like, I've got to get rid of this stuff. And I don't want to deal with OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace for local deals, even though it's normally what I would do with bigger things like that. And I decided instead I was going to go to the Swapmeets. So I looked it up, like, what does this look like? How do I do this? And I just figured it out, right? So not that it's anything special. People do Swapmeets all the time, but I get there early. I show up.
It's an endeavor, though. It's not just like you wake up and like, I think I'm gonna set up for the Swapmeet.
Yeah, I mean, I had to plan the day before it, so I went Sunday. So I don't know if that's like the typical at every Swapmeet, but here in San Diego, Sunday is like the Swapmeet day. Saturday's like it's busy, but like Sunday is busier. So Sunday was the day. Plus, it's always nice to do sourcing on Saturday, and I didn't want to give that up. So my thought was, I'm just going to go on Sunday, but you have to prep obviously the night before. Like I had to pack my car with all the stuff that I was going to bring and go through my various trailers and sheds and made sure I had all of that stuff. I had a table set up, I had a chair, all the things that I would potentially need for this. So I get there, I pay $35, and my whole thing was like, I at least want to make, and this sounds like really low, but I was aiming low, not because I didn't think I could make more, but my thing was I was pretty much willing to throw most of this stuff away. You know, so it's like, if I can net $100,
that's a good place to be, because that means you're willing to sell.
I'm willing to let it go. Yeah. I had like a Guitar Hero drum set and guitar, and I'm just like, I know I can make money on this stuff, but it takes up tons of space, and I'm not going to deal with the shipping it and traveling with it one more time. Haven't listed it yet. So there's just a lot of things that I was like, I'd be willing to let go for really cheap, or just basically trash at this point. And so I show up, and my thought was, as long as I make at least $100 net profit, like from what would have been trash.
That is a low bar.
It's low. It's not a ton of money, but you know, obviously I have to recoup the $35 for the spot that I got. And then I needed to sell some stuff, and I wasn't planning on being there more than like 2 hours. I wasn't going to do, because you can be at the swap meet for like 5 hours plus.
I got a story to share a little bit.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do a couple of hours. And so if I end up making $100 net, $50 an hour, that's not too bad, right? I can deal with $50 an hour. That kind of sounds like super obnoxious, right? Like, but when you're reselling at times, it's like, that's a decent amount.
But that's the beauty of reselling. Yeah. Like, people don't understand. It's kind of, that's the struggle I'm having. I'm trying to get my son to get a job. And he's like, Dad, why? Like, why would I get a job? I just got a source like you, and I just pick up 2 or 3 items and I'll make more. Those items that I'll make on a paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But here's the thing. he has
He's
to
not doing
source
it,
and he
yeah.
has to list it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the
it's
thing.
still not easy work. I mean, you have to do the work. And
Yeah.
the reality is that $50 an hour doesn't account for my travel time. It doesn't account for I had to source those items in the first place. You know what I mean? So I spent time doing that. So it ends up being less than that, probably $30 an hour
No,
once
it's
it's
all
all
good.
said and done. But you know what I mean? Like just a round number to think about. Man, let me tell you, I pull up and it was like, I understand now what people who do garage sales experience when the resellers bombard them.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I get there and people have already been set up for a while because you can pay extra to get in like extra early. I didn't do that. I just got there like the time when the price is 35 and not 40. So I'm like parking towards the back. And as I'm parking my car, I would say like 12 people came up to the car. And I'm like
zombies.
I'm like opening my car door and they're like, hey, do you have any electronics? You got computers? Do you have? And they're like yelling stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe. And so I'm like opening up the trunk and I'm pulling stuff out and people are like looking like into the totes as they're in my car. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I'm almost got the stuff out. So I'm like trying to get stuff out and people are already like, how much? And so I was like, oh man, this is going to go quick, you know? So
I feel like it's the marketplace from Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, like just craziness.
that's pretty much what it was like. But the problem with that is because I had never experienced a swap meet before. A few people asked like the stroller. They're like, how much for the stroller? And I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna start with $40. It was a Bob stroller. It was a decent stroller. And because I probably got asked by like 8 people within the first 2 minutes, how much for the stroller? So I'm like, I'm just going to say 40 because all these people asking. If I have to slowly lower the price to 35, 30, 25, no big deal, right? Like people are asking about it. I sold everything that I sold within the first half hour. And then like the next hour and a half, I was probably there like 2.5 hours. The rest of the time that I was there, like nobody else asked about the stroller. At one point, as people were walking by, I'm like, you want a stroller? I'll give it to you for free. Like, I don't want to bring it home. So it's like probably the same thing with some garage sales. The idea of you can almost get in your mind, like if this number of people are asking for things and wanting for things, I'm gonna experience this the whole time. And that's just a fallacy. That's not real. That's not how it's gonna be. It's like that in the beginning because the hardcore resellers are trying to get something that's a deal for really fast and get out.
They gotta move.
They gotta move. And then the rest of the people who kind of show up later that are just kind of like, you know, walking around, looking at stuff. They're not like trying to buy everything you have at the cheapest price.
Yeah, it's interesting that you shared that because that was kind of the evolution of my reselling journey. It started with rummage sales. So I was in this small town in San Diego County, and the Goodwill was even built where I used to live. And there was no Goodwill there, and it was just this huge lot. And so you would pay $10. And so at that time, I was doing the whole Dave Ramsey financial piece, trying to get out of debt. So at that time, I was married, and the night before, we would like back up the car like to the brim. It was literally probably like 1.5 miles to get to this location. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. But the problem was I didn't understand that dynamic. So I would go and I'd set up and people would like lowball me and I would get offended. Like I'll never forget my daughter and my stepdaughter at that time had like My Little Ponies, and I think I wanted like $20 and they're like $2. I'm like, I'm not going to sell this for $2. And guess what? Week after week after week, I'd come back with a bunch of inventory.
Yep.
Right now, I would make money. I remember at that time, I made like $90 in like 3 hours. And I was like, oh, I'm making good money. Like I can't, like I felt like the best. Like I was the best guy at that rummage sale. I had the good stuff. And then they shut it down because of Goodwill that was going to be built there. And I remember being so upset about that change. But then that Goodwill for the next year,
that was a honey hole,
was a gold mine for me. Like I made so much money, maybe for 2 years, maybe even 3 years. I don't know how long it was, but I got to know the managers. I remember back in those days, I'd get texts about, hey, come on down. And since it only took me like 2 minutes to get to that store, I found so much. So one thing I want to share with you guys, like sometimes change happens. I know this is not a motivational thing, but
you know, a mic moment right now.
But there's a reason for that change, because what that change did for me, it pushed me more into selling on eBay. I would have still been that guy at that rummage sale working like, I think it was like 8 hours. Like by the time I packed the car, by the time I showed up, I sold everything. By the time I went back home and unpacked, for like $80-$90.
Yeah. Not worth it.
Right.
Not worth it at that point.
I could source 2 items for like $90. Right. So Yeah. So anyways, I encourage you guys, like if there's ever changes in your reselling, it's probably for the better. It's probably just a way that you can begin to go, you know what, how can I make this better? So
yeah. And even if it's not like a direct change for the better, if nothing else, it's an opportunity, right? Like everything is an opportunity to adapt, adjust, and move with markets and figure things out. And that's what separates those who end up doing well and those who don't. A lot of times it's competency, but almost just as often it's just willingness to keep going and figure it out. Like you can be at an average IQ, an average, skill level, average on basically everything. And if you're willing to just not give up and keep working, you're going to find success where most people don't. Even where people who are like gifted beyond belief with intelligence and other things, like they'll give up. Not everybody, but you know what I mean? Like that's the number one thing is like when you run into things like a change, like, are you willing to keep going? Are you willing to figure it out? And so anyways, going back to the swap meet, like it was nice.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I'm pretty much done, but
okay.
It was nice to be able to get rid of stuff. And I ended up making, closer to $300 net profit when all was said and done. So honestly, I probably lost some money on some items. I probably made more than I was expecting on others. But that's inventory I don't have to move again and I don't have to deal with. And it's a weight off my shoulders in that sense. And so, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to kind of get a fresh start with that stuff. Yeah. What about you? What's going on with you?
So I've just been sourcing like crazy. I really believe these next 6 months are going to be pretty pivotal, I think, in the secondary market. I mean, there's a lot of macroeconomic stuff, right? We have the markets are tanking. We just had the job report came out, and it's good news, meaning that there's not a lot of people looking for work, because I think, there's, you ever heard the term quiet quitting? Like that's a thing now. And there's just basically a lot of people are working remotely. And so whenever that happens, that means that the Fed is like, okay, we're going to raise interest rates, which will kill the economy. And so what I think that's going to lead to is people, and a lot of our reselling topics are going to talk about this, but people are going to be looking for secondary goods. They're going to be looking for deals. And so right now, while, people are still looking for that, that hype stuff, people are still trying to do the sneaker reselling. I feel like I'm just trying to snag those deals that people aren't seeing. And I'm getting stuff at really low cost at the moment. They're probably going to be even cheaper. I mean, right now I'm pretty selective in what I source. And the reason being is I've realized I still have stuff here that I picked it up because I was helping people out. And so like a lot of the stuff I picked up, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And now I'm being even more selective because you don't want to end up with major death piles. So I've been doing a lot of sourcing. I'm also shifting from clothing a little bit just because, and I say that, and then I just had a major haul, which I'll share on our next episode of clothing. But I just find that I'm kind of just tired of clothing right now. I kind of hit that wall. Like I'm not looking forward to taking pictures of them. I'm not looking forward to measuring. And I think
moving to hard goods.
More like collectible stuff, which I'm finding that even in a recession, there's still a market for collectible stuff. Again, everything in reselling, I think that the key principle is your cost. If your cost is low enough, you can win in any market. Right. If you're buying stuff at, high prices, that's where you're going to lose in reselling. So I'm okay buying a collectible that normally, people are selling for like, $100, but now because of the market, they're only able to get $50. But if I can get my cost down from $10 to $1, it's still good money.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So I'm doing that. And then I'm just listing more. I realized since I think February, I haven't doubled the size of my store, but I'm getting close to there. Right. So my hope is that by not the end of Q4, but by at least January, I'll have at least double my store. And I was very intentional because I had those moments where things were kind of slow and I was like, I'm not giving up. Like I'm going to keep listing it, and it worked out. So
it's good.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I'm really excited about too has been our Discord. So if you have not jumped on over to our Patreon and signed up to be able to go on our Discord, it's only $5.55 a month. Seriously, it is such a steal. I mean, I don't think Mike and I are going to be raising the prices anytime soon, but the information in there is invaluable, from the BOLOs the hustle of the week. And we're not a cook group. This is just stuff that organically happens, right? Yeah. There was that story. I forget who it was, but they went in and they bought a bunch of records and they sold one for like over $1,000, right? We're going to share it as a hustle of the week. And I don't know anything about vinyl, but I'm slowly learning right through the Discord.
Yeah, it's great just to have people who have expertise in different areas, people who are knowledgeable in different things, people who, honestly, there's some people in there who lurk and they just want to gain information. Some people are participating a lot, and that's totally fine. There's no obligation. You definitely can join and just, occasionally scan through, read, or participate. And some people, prefer to just kind of talk shop, just like how things are going, maybe reselling. It's maybe not even like tips or advice. Sometimes, we have channels made for that, but some people just want to chat about life. And so it's just kind of cool to have people who are like-minded, you get put together and it's like a real community as opposed to just like, on Instagram, you can put a comment on somebody's post, but there might be a comment reply, but you don't really get to like develop like those kind of connections in the same way. So the Discord is great. We want to thank all of you who support us, even if you aren't, necessarily interested in the Discord, but you just want to support PRSL Podcast because you think the information we've given has been beneficial. You can definitely support us on Patreon. It's because of our Patreon, our patrons. It's because of our patrons on Patreon that we can keep doing what we're doing. Like Orlando and I were at a point where we were like, we're putting in countless hours on the podcast and our sponsor system changed. And do we keep doing this? And now we've got a community that supports us and says that what we're doing is valuable. And so it's because of people like you supporting us that we get to keep doing this. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So go to the link below or go to patreon.com/PRSL and sign up and join us.
Yeah.
All right. So you got any random stories here?
Yeah, a couple. One, when I first showed up at the swap meet, like I mentioned, I ran into one of our listeners.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Matt. I'm pretty sure the name is Matt.
It is Matt. We talked about this earlier. Yeah, it's Matt.
So
he's like our most popular guest that we've never had on.
Yeah, he's ubiquitous, man. He's everywhere. Every time I'm out and about, I've run into Matt and Mike a lot. Okay. So I've run into a few of our listeners, and there's more of you who listen and you see us and you're like, I don't want to go talk to him.
Come say hi.
Yeah, say hi. But I feel really bad. Like the reason why it's kind of random because he came up and he was talking to me a little bit, but it was when I just pulled up. And so I'm being like swarmed. And so I almost feel like I didn't blow him off, but I had to be like, yeah, it's crazy. I'm trying to sell some stuff. And then people are talking to me. I turn around, I start talking to people, and then I look back and he's gone. I'm like, oh man, hopefully he didn't feel like I just ignored him.
I think most people are understanding.
They get it, yeah.
Because I've been at estate sales and listeners are there and then as soon as like they open it up, I'm like, all right, peace out.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, we get it. Like, we're good.
You got to do what you got to do. So, but that was really cool. But I had something interesting happen at the swap meet, and it actually it was bizarre at first, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, this guy's got an interesting system going. So I was getting close to the time where I wanted to leave anyways, right? And I still had a bunch of stuff left. And a guy walks up and he's like, are you selling all this stuff? And I'm like, yeah, selling all this stuff. And he's like, would you be willing to sell it all? And I'm like, well, yeah, like, of course I'd be willing to sell it all. And he's like, well, what all is for sale? Is the table? And he's asking for some stuff. And so anyways, it comes out, he ends up saying, he explains to me, he goes, in the past, and he had like a handful of things with him, like he's carrying around. So I'm assuming it's stuff he's bought. He goes, in the past, I've bought booths from people, like they're pretty much done. Yeah. He's also, I basically take over their booth. I just buy everything. They leave.
He's the last buyer.
Yeah. But he stays and sells the stuff at the booth. So he doesn't have to pay the $35.
That's interesting.
So instead of paying $35, he waits until a little bit. He buys all the stuff and he literally just takes over the booth. So you drive away and he's now sitting with all of your stuff and selling it and includes the stuff that he brought. Right. So I was like, this is interesting. So we talked a little bit and I was like, okay, how about 100 for everything, which wasn't bad. But he was like, no. And he's like, well, what about, would you trade for any of this stuff? And I'm like, okay, no, like this is like, sorry, we're too far apart, But I was like, man, what an interesting concept. Like, I wonder, you could easily go to, and I'm sure there's probably,
I'm fascinated by that.
But my thought process is he's like a hermit crab. You know how like hermit crabs will like steal the shells of like other, you know what I mean? Like, so he's coming and he's like looking around. And if somebody's like about ready to leave, if you can do the like, can I just take over your booth? I'll pay you this amount for this stuff that you have, and then I'll just sell it for you. But it's, it's obviously mine now. I bought it. But I mean, you can potentially, if you're saving $35 for the spot, that gives you $35 extra you could pay for stuff, right? So if you were going to be that last buyer, as it were, and you're to say, here's $200 worth of stuff that I could sell for $200. If I offered them $100 for it, really I'm only offering them like 65 because I would have had to pay 35 for this spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I pay $100 for the spot plus all of this stuff. It doesn't take maybe that long to sell it. Plus, if I brought a wagon of my own stuff to sell, I didn't have to buy a spot and I can sell my Pokemon cards or whatever it was that I brought. So I'm like, man, what an interesting concept. This is like hermit crab of a guy. Maybe some other people do this. But I was like, he's got a good business model. Like, he's smart. He's figured out how to work the system to like get in and potentially take over. Because the guy that was next to me at one point, the person behind him said, hey, do you pretty much sell anything? And the guy's like, yeah. He goes, do you want the stuff that we have? Because my wife's got to leave. We got to leave. You can just have all this stuff.
Wow.
So like, he's like, sure. And it was like pretty much garbage stuff, but like 5 trash bags worth of clothes and some handful of like hard good stuff. And then all that was added to his booth.
But what if he's like, hey, $10 a bag?
Right. And then what if the hermit crab guy got to him first?
Hermit crab.
And what if hermit crab said like, I'll give you $10 for everything?
Yeah.
Because they were going to leave anyways.
Yeah.
So they're like, sure, take everything. You get a booth now. You pay $10 for a booth instead of 35. Maybe you sell some of this stuff, make some money. And the stuff that you brought, you can sell. I'm sure there's some ethical issues of like you're selling, but technically somebody bought that booth. And then that booth is still, it just changed ownership. It's not like, you know, you snuck in and you're getting a free booth. Somebody still paid for that booth and that stuff was that. So I don't know. Let us know in the comments below what you think about that. But I just thought it was an interesting concept that this guy had going. And I was intrigued, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued too. That's it seems it's pretty perfect, except what do you do if you can't sell all the stuff? That's where it gets tricky. You know, but if you can offload everything, like you make a good amount, like you doubled your money, right? So let's say you don't have a job and you do that like 3 days a week, right?
Well, it's Swapmeets, so you'd have to do it 2 days a week.
No, it's 3 days at Kobe's.
Oh, is it Kobe's?
Yeah, 3 days. Thursday, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
And let's say you did 3 days a week and you made like $200 each day. I mean, that's not bad. Just, you know, for just going in, no overhead.
I mean, you'd have to have a way of transporting the stuff out of there.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the only catch. Yeah. Like if you could somehow,
you probably can't just show up on your bike.
Sell
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you could, and you could sell through everything, like that'd be pretty amazing.
I mean, maybe you just do kind of like what those other people did. I mean, you could wait to the last minute.
Hey, you want the stuff?
Yeah, find somebody else who kind of, because there's those people who go every week and they have like a legit kind of store, as it were. There's some people who go every week and you look at their stuff and you're like, did you sell anything this week? Like,
I feel like I want to do this. Like I want to do a YouTube video and you and I become hermit crabs. And we just try it one time.
Just try and hermit crab a booth out of somebody.
Just see if we can make it happen. We just go in, we buy out the booth, and then we just sell everything in the booth.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. There may be ethical issues with you didn't pay for the booth from like the place, but I don't know.
There's no ethical issue. The company got its business. You're just
that's where I'm like, I could go 50-50 on that. Like somebody bought that because it's literally, the booth is literally like a parking spot that was paid for the entire time. So you just took over a parking spot that's already been paid for, you know? So
yeah, it would have been used the whole day anyways.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of cool. That was my random story is I met a hermit crab. What about you?
So I have a story to last the ages. Oh. So you've been following us on Instagram. You've heard this. You actually experienced this with me. The highs, the lows, the sorrow, the despair.
Yes.
You know where I'm going with
called
this. I called you.
Yep.
It was a dark moment in my reselling life. So there's injustice and then there's injustice. And this was injustice to the core for me. Because see, there was an estate sale. And on the ad, they said, hey, estate sale starts at 9 a.m. and there'll be a sign-up sheet at 6 a.m. You know, just show up, sign up. So I got up really early. I got up at 5:15 in the morning. By the way, I also take my son with me. So he got up early. I had to make breakfast. I had to get ready. I show up at 6, and not even 6 a.m. It was like 5:55 a.m., whatever. Go to the door. No one's there. Ring the doorbell. No one's there. Now, I understand. A guy like me shows up on a Ring camera. You're not going to open that door. I get it. But I actually had like 10 feet of space. I actually made sure that if they really felt I was a danger, like they had enough moment to I don't know, whatever. It's 6 dogs on me. So I'm there till about like 6:10 in the morning, maybe 6:15. No one shows up. I'm like, all right, I'll come back. So I go to a garage sale kind of early, and then I get my business card and I write on my business card, and I come back, and if no one's there, I was just gonna leave my business card like on the door and just say, hey, can you just put me on the list, right? And so I show up at 6:30, and sure enough, somebody's there, garage is open, and I'm like, hey, I was here earlier to sign up, and like, oh yeah, we saw you. I was like, oh cool, so can you just put me at number one? And they're like, no, you need to sign up. I'm like, wait, but I was here like right at 6 a.m. And they're like, no, you have to sign up. So I signed up and I was number 4, which didn't really bother me at the moment, but this is when it bothers me. So I show up at about 8:50 in the morning, 10 minutes before, and in front of me, I see this thing I've never seen in real life. And it's this 1986 G.I. Joe, I think it's called the Terrordrome. And it's this huge like sphere kind of G.I. Joe, has like a cobra. It looks really cool. Like Cobra, like G.I. Joe Cobra. Okay, in Boston there. And on the bottom end, they go for about 500. On the top end, they could go for 2,000 to 3,000 if they're fully intact. Now, I don't know if this one was fully intact until I see it. And my mind's like racing, like if I was number one, like I'm golden, right? So I almost said something, and then the guy goes, hey, there's not enough people here. I thought there was going to be more people. I'm just going to let all you guys come in. And I was like, oh no. So there's a guy that has a direct line of sight right next to me who got there a little bit earlier, and he has direct line of sight, and I'm at an angle. Okay. So I'm, I have like a few more steps than this guy does. And so 9 o'clock hits, he's like, all right, let's go. So I start moving fast, and the guy next to me starts moving fast, and then he starts dead sprinting, and I start dead sprinting towards it. And my mind is going through all these thoughts, like I'm 40 something years old. I'm a bigger dude. Like this can end up really bad. And so I'm running. I'm like, I'm going to take it. And I go, that's my G.I. Joe. And I go to grab it. And the guy literally, and this dude's like 60 something, like skinny guy. He probably runs like marathons or something. I don't know. And he goes under me and takes it. And so in the flash moment, I was like,
it's like Jingle All the Way, man.
It was like Jingle All the Way. So there's a part of me that thought about throwing a shoulder into the guy. But then I thought, what if like somebody has a cell phone and like they see me? Because literally what would have happened if I threw the shoulder into the guy, I would have been able to grab it, but I would have had to roll with it. Okay. So I'm like, I'm not a small guy. So it just would have been a scene. So the question in my mind in this split second, you know how you have those moments where you literally have a lot of time to think about something, but it's only like a second.
Yeah. That's adrenaline.
Yeah. I was thinking, okay, so am I willing to kind of lose like, my dignity for a moment?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if $500 is worth losing your dignity for.
So, I mean, I already felt like I lost my dignity when I yelled, that's my G.I. Joe.
That's my G.I.
Like, I don't even know how loud it was.
I hope somebody was there with like a GoPro recording like their sourcing, and they have it. And then that becomes like a Vine or what?
I hope not. Here's the thing. I got offers. I had people approach me about becoming the head of school. Like
that can become
2 months ago. So think about
like that's my G.I. Joe. It's just like you running.
The reason I laugh is because I think about like if I went through the interview process before like a community, and like I'm interviewing to become a head of school, and they're like, hey, just had a question.
Aren't you a G.I. Joe guy?
Yeah, like how would that play out? So
hey, aren't you the guy that like shoulder checked an old man and like
exactly
and fought him for a kid's toy?
Again, I'm a big dude. So that's the thing. That's what
like, but it was for $500.
So the guy took it, and it was like the worst feeling. And not only that, so I'm gonna share that Mike kind of told me like, I don't know if we should, but I'm like, let's keep it real. So I pulled the ultimate reseller jerk move.
Oh man.
So the guy knows that he has to pay for this and like put it in his car right away. So they give it to him for $20. So I'm like, $20. Do you guys know that thing sells for $500 to $1,000? I was just mad. I was just heated. And the guy looks at me.
Oh, that's messed up.
And but he still got it for $20. And I told the sale guys, I'm like, hey, listen, this was unfair. I was here early. I signed up, and here we are. But here's the thing. While he's packing up his car, there was a room full of vintage Padre stuff. And so I knew that room was there. So I went up right to that room. No one was there. So I cleaned the house. I picked up like 10 or 20 jerseys, ticket stubs, all kinds of Padre stuff in that room. So did I make about the same money as that guy? I think I did, because I saw some of the other stuff he was buying later on. And I did apologize to him later. I said, hey, man, we're good. I'm sorry. I got a little heated. Because the guy yelled at me at one point and goes, I was here before you. I'm like, no, you weren't. I was here before the sun even rose. Don't bring that. But I told him, hey, we're good. I'm sorry. Like, I got a little heated. And you know, you also got to realize you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, right? So when you're trying to negotiate with the estate people.
Well, that's what that was like, kind of a dangerous move too. When you told the estate people like, hey, that wasn't fair. Like, if you were going to do that, maybe wait until after you did all of your deals and then you're leaving, and you say, hey, by the way. But
they were still like, I apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry. And we still, you know, we broke bread, and we made a sweet deal. And I paid $140 for probably 1 or 2K of inventory. So.
Hey, I mean, we joke about you losing your dignity on that, but honestly, being willing and able to apologize, that's a big deal. I'm really big on, a lot of times people apologize for things they shouldn't apologize for. But on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of times the things that people should be willing to like recognize, like, hey, we all, no matter how much dignity we have and how mature we are, like there's going to be times when we do things and we're like, man, that was dumb. I acted out, you know, and being willing to like acknowledge that's a big move. So, you know,
I don't know. I had to make things right. Like I just, you know, injustice. Yeah. All right. So, but here's the thing. There's always opportunities around the corner, and I'll share this hustle of the week next week. But within a couple of days, like I had a major hustle of the week, and I'll share with that. Now, you and I got a little bit of like a random story to share here.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, then you heard the announcement at the beginning. And yes, that is happening. We bought out like an entire store.
An entire eBay store, yeah.
We bought it out. We were just like 100% bought everything. And it's actually a connection we made to our Discord, which is cool.
And they were fine selling it. And I even told them like, hey, we're going to sell this on one night. And here's what people have to understand. Like when people are willing to let things go, they're willing to let things go. And he's like, I hope you guys do well. I'm all good with it.
Yeah.
And so
it's awesome. It's really cool. And yeah, we were looking through some of the stuff today. I helped you unload a whole bunch of it out of the car. Yeah. And so if you're, again, this is just like a reminder, you heard the thing in the beginning. If you're listening right now, we're hoping that we got the affiliate link up and running. It would mean a whole lot to us if you use that affiliate link
for Whatnot.
Yeah. For Whatnot app. If you use that affiliate link, if you're brand new, and you get something out of it, right? I'm not 100% all the details, but you're going to get either some percentage off or money or something for using that affiliate link that you can use during, you know, one of the auctions. But our goal is we're not trying to like sell anything at top dollars. There's some stuff that we're looking at, like, it's probably not like great inventory, but like a lot of it is like decent stuff. Like, and we're setting like the bar really low.
So what I'm finding with Whatnot is like, you know, I had mentioned previous podcasts, like as a reseller, it's not worth it to me as far as a selling stuff. But if you're looking to source, like there's some great deals, and there will be great deals at this auction on Monday. So this Monday, September 5th, Labor Day, you already heard it before, but in case you missed it or in case you fast forward it, go to the link below if you're brand new and use that link. I think you'll get $10 cash towards your purchase, or it might be something different. I'm not sure. That's what it used to be. We just recently like started a relationship with Whatnot, and so we're working on the details. Like this was just something we just thought about just now, and if you're already on Whatnot, make sure to follow us for our Pure Hustle podcast on Whatnot.
Yeah, and one of the cool things, like you said, like this is a good opportunity for sourcing. So a lot of this stuff is stuff I'd love to, you know, even have in my store. But like I've mentioned in previous podcasts, if you're listening, you know that my goal right now is to actually like trim my store down as much as I can, like to almost nothing but the most valuable things and the easiest things to pack and ship, because I've got a move coming up in a couple of days, basically. And then I've got another big move in like 10 months. It's going to be basically a cross country move. And so I do not want to deal with moving. And this is why this guy sold his stuff, right? Is because he doesn't want to store or move it. And so,
well, he's moving. Yeah. So he didn't want to pay the storage.
Exactly.
cost.
And so where I'm at right now is, a lot of this stuff would be great to have in my store. And Orlando, a lot of it you would either have in your store, or, you've already got so many.
But I got so much right now. And I want to provide an opportunity for the Pure Podcast community.
Exactly.
Source.
So basically we were able to buy out a store, and then now we're going to resell that store, and hopefully we'll make at least our money back in a little bit, but people are still going to get a huge deal. Yeah. Right. Because we got a beyond killer deal, and we're hoping to give everybody a really good deal. Yeah, if that makes sense. So
make sure to join us Monday. If you're brand new, use the link below. It'll help us out. It'll help you out. And we're going to be all good. So check us out Monday. And in order to know when it's happening, it is happening Monday. We're trying to sort out what time, but if you follow us, you'll get that alert. And it'll be like another podcast. So we're probably not dropping a Monday mini-sode that day. We're probably just going to make like our whatnot auction. We're talking about tons. We're talking about 500 plus items. So, and I think we're going to get through it. And if we don't, maybe we'll do another one. But we're going to be on there for a little while. So it'll be a good time in community. So check us out. All right. Hey, if you have not yet purchased, I feel like we're doing another ad after ad. That wasn't supposed to be an ad, but Bubble Boy has been great. I got to tell you, lately, I've had a bunch of stuff I've had to wrap up. Like I had like this huge toy I had to wrap up, and luckily I had like the huge 4-foot roll, and I just had to like wrap it up real quick. But if you haven't got American Bubble Boy, it's a great brand. Free 2-day shipping, next day shipping, even local pickup. Go to the link below. It helps us out. AmericanBubbleBoy.com, and they have great items for you to package. Yeah. All right. If you haven't been following us on social media, we are Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We are Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. As always, you can give us a call at 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. Or shoot us an email at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. And if you have not had an opportunity to check us out over on YouTube, jump on over. We keep growing in size, and it's awesome. And pretty soon we'll be able to, do some merch too. And so in order to help us out, just come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Tell us, do we look like what you thought before you jumped over to YouTube? Hit that like button and hit that bell notification. Cause actually, I think we're going to do a whole video on this whole whatnot. So if you want to see how
recap of the whole thing.
If you want to see how things turn out, make sure to be subscribed on there. And last of all, if you haven't had a chance yet, jump on over to iTunes, throw us a review, a good one, hopefully a 5-star, and just a quick note as to why you enjoy the podcast. Really helps us out. All right, we got kind of this is, I'm just going to call it, this is going to be reseller news. It's not even topics. Like there's a lot going on.
It's
here.
Always reseller news. News is breaking in the reselling world, and we are the ones that are going to discuss that breaking news, because that's what we do on the Pure Hustle Podcast. Orlando, take it away.
All right, so there's a lot going on. Okay, the macroeconomics, meaning everything from possibility of stagflation, recession. Even the past, I don't know where it's going to go with the loan forgiveness, but that's going to throw a bunch of money into the economy again and maybe raise inflation. There's international things happening. And the biggest one I think that's going to affect us right now is the glut of inventory that's hitting stores. And I just, this comes from Quartz. It's an article. It says, why recession worried shoppers aren't shopping at TJ Maxx, Ross, or Nordstrom Rack.
Yeah, so these are like your typical go-to rack stores or off-price stores.
So it's interesting. They said, with record inflation, okay, this is from Tiffany App, says, with record inflation this summer and talk of a recession, it would seem like it's time for discount stores to shine. A survey conducted by the marketing firm NC Solutions in June found that nearly half of Americans feel like they can't afford their previous lifestyle, and 66% are more mindful of how they are spending their money. But at TJ Maxx, Ross, and Nordstrom Rack, which all reported their second quarter earnings in the last week, business has been sagging. So what does this mean? This means that possibly retail arbitrage may get interesting, right? Because a lot of the retail arbitrage space during Q4, especially on Amazon, it's items from these stores. It's items from Ross. It's items from TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And now, if people aren't even going to those stores, the items in those stores may not do well when you're trying to do retail arbitrage with those items. right? At Ross, total sales are forecasted to decline 4% to 7%. If you remember, Ross was booming. Like while all these mall stores were closing, Ross was just exponentially growing, and now it's slowing down. So the retailer admitted it was slow to pivot merchandise out of casual products to work and occasional clothing. But fellow discounter TJ Maxx also expects a full year sales decline of 2 to 3%, and Nordstrom Rack expects the same. The CEO of Nordstrom Rack said how hard hit the lowest end consumer is. While some customers who typically shop at higher end stores are shifting down to off-price outlets, it's not enough to offset the number of customers who have stopped visiting stores completely.
Yeah, so that's one of those things. Like, it's not that the secondhand market isn't where people are going to be going, but the reality is what some people don't realize with inflation when they hear a number like that, like 8% or 9%, what that really means is that's like a whole month of the year's salary that you used to make that you don't make anymore. It'd be like, hey, you're not getting paid in June anymore, or you're not getting paid in December. And now you got to figure out how to make that money. Even though it doesn't hit you in that way, it's spread out over the whole year. When everything goes up that much, you literally have basically lost a month's worth of salary unless your pay increased that much or more. So it makes sense that they would have a 4 to 7% drop, because people who, if you lose a month worth of your salary for the year, you're going to make the clothes you have work if you can, and you're going to buy the milk and the eggs and the cheese and the gas and electric that have gone up, all those things. So it's not that they're not doing well because, hey, people are going and buying the high end expensive stuff. They're not doing well because the people who would typically shop at those stores are probably hurting the most.
Yeah.
Right. The average person who's like, I'm trying to save money, so I'm going to Ross. Well, if you were trying to save money and go to Ross before, and you lose like a month's worth of your salary out of your annual, worth, you're probably like, I can't afford to go to Ross. I need to buy food, So those people, it makes sense that the market that would suffer the most would be the ones that's typically shopping there anyways. So, sort of like that makes sense. I don't know if it'll have the impact you were mentioning though, of the items that they have there won't do well on retail arbitrage, because maybe in some ways there'll be more inventory because the average person is going and like, oh, look, they've got this cool thing that I can buy at Ross. But
instead of going like back in the day, instead of them going to like Amazon, they may go to Ross now. They may go to TJ Maxx because.
So you're saying, but then the TJ Maxx Ross like would start booming at that point. So instead of people going to Amazon, they're going to go to off-price stores.
Well, okay, I hear what you're saying. So, but what I'm telling you is like, if people are not going to these stores, how much less are they going to be going to Amazon and paying the exorbitant prices?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? So like there's the items I've shared before where I would pay $50 at a TJ Maxx and I'd resell on Amazon for $300. I don't know if it's gonna be like that. I've been saying for months that it's gonna be secondary goods this Q4, and I see that more. Here's another report from the Wall Street Journal. It said few shoppers want to think about Christmas gifts in August, but an unusual set of deals could mean major savings for those who do. They'll find the best deals in home, apparel, electronics, sporting goods, toys. Analysts say these long delayed goods have arrived ashore. So again, a glut of inventory. At the same time, the spending is slowing. Retail analysts say they expect to typically discount like fall months to see some of the best sales in years. So all these stores are going to be having major sales, right? So in many cases, retailers have already started discounting certain items. Soy prices were down 8.2% year over year in July. Also, prices for electronics decreased 9.3% in that time, and clothing prices dropped 1%. Target and Walmart said last week they continue to struggle with the supply surplus, right? So there isn't scarcity. Right? What makes you thrive in Q4 as far as retail arbitrage is scarcity, the lack of stuff. But if there's an issue of supply surplus, that could pose a problem. That problem hit Target's profits especially hard. Walmart had previously sent a warning to investors saying that efforts to clear out excess inventory and weak demand would diminish operating income for the quarter. Inventory at toy company Mattel, meanwhile, is up 44% over year, according to the company's second quarter earnings. 44%. That's a lot. So we talked about, what was that one thing that was really hot and then it restocked, right? I mean, we could talk about fingerlings. We could talk about that one thing at Target that I remember you saw it in the shelves and then it was gone. And then a month later they fully restocked and the prices dropped.
Yeah, a lot of those like for real pets or various things like that, yeah.
So there's gonna be an issue, and you'll have to be careful with retail arbitrage. Now I think there's gonna be the hot items that sell for good money. I think that's going to be there, but I think there's gonna be a major issue. So here's the story again. Retailers with lower inventory turnover, including stores like Gap, Bed Bath & Beyond, Kohl's, Best Buy, and sporting goods stores especially, likely to put goods on super sale, right? Value stores like TJ Maxx, the Dollar Store, and all those, they're expecting to get a little bit more foot traffic. So this is just my opinion. My opinion is that retail arbitrage is going to get really difficult. Right now I'm part of a Facebook group, a Walmart clearance, and there's like over 1 million people in that group.
No.
And every day I'm seeing posts of people finding this for cheap, finding this for cheap, finding this for cheap. And 1 million people, let's say even 1% of those people are resellers, that can kill a market.
Yeah.
Right. So this is just my warning, like be careful about that. Now, along with that, TJ Maxx, the parent company, just got fined $13 million for selling recalled products. So that's the other thing. Now, most of them were like baby items, right? So
bummer.
There were Kids 2 rocking sleepers, Fisher Price rock and play sleepers, Fisher Price inclined sleeper accessory, da. But the reason I bring this up is I've said this for a long time. Like when you do retail arbitrage, you need to be careful that you're not sourcing risky items.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like anything can be recalled. I mean, Jif peanut butter was recalled. You know what I mean? Like, so you can be at a place where something is very safe and normal, and then all of a sudden there's a recall. And especially when it's safety stuff, like it could be anything like the strap on this isn't as secure as they thought, or the binding they use for this breaks, or so you never know. So you can be very careful. I think there's certain categories you can maybe eliminate your risk a little more. It does seem like baby items are more likely to have recall issues because I think the safety standards are so much higher on them. So like if you have a 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 5 or 10,000 chance of having an item that you're buying be a recall item, if it's baby items, it might be twice that number. Now it still could be a low number. Like if you're dealing with 1 in 10,000, which then goes down to like a 1 in 5,000 chance, that's twice as likely, but it's also still unlikely. So you got to figure, as much as everything that TJ Maxx sells, and they sold just a handful of recalled items, chances are as resellers, you may occasionally run into that, but I don't know if it's like...
It's just not worth the risk to me. Like I won't sell baby items.
Baby items, yeah. Baby items a little bit more dangerous. Not even just the sense of like you could have like an official recall, but yeah, there's just that, this is going to someone's baby, and who knows? Like even like used baby stuff, you got to be so careful with, because you don't know. Like maybe the baby who had it before had some kind of like, illness or something that like you just never know. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful with that stuff. And I could see like of anything, that would be the one where it's like be the most cautious.
Okay. All right. Now, do you want to delve into this one about eBay buying TGC? I said, let me read the headline. Sure. Because I don't understand what this all means, but I think you do, because I'm not a card guy. eBay is buying the trading card marketplace TCG Player for $295 million. What does that mean?
So I haven't actually looked into enough to see like what their plans are with it. TCG Player may end up just continuing kind of as normal. Like a lot of times.
That's the assumption. Like they were very clear, we're going to keep running business. But what does that mean? So
TCG Player is a website where, and I've played various games, Magic the Gathering, Android Netrunner, dabbled in Pokemon, various games throughout my life. And TCG Player is a really great website where you can go, if you're a buyer, it's really easy. Like you list the item you want. Like say there's a card I want. I put the card name in, and it's almost like the stock market, the way it kind of figures out. So unlike eBay, where there's like, you look up something and card values are going to be based off that. But like if you were like looking up, I don't know, like used hydro flask bottles, those numbers are going to be all over the place based off of the color and the size and whatever. But if you're looking for a specific type of card, like I need this card for my deck. Well, what TCG Player, it's an easy place where people can list these items. There's big stores, just like eBay. There's stores where it's like they literally sell hundreds of thousands of cards a month, so they're the big dogs in the game. But you can kind of look up and you pick the basically the grade of the card. Do you want it to be in good quality, like near mint? Do you want it to be in playable quality, or do you want it to be in like bad quality? And there's going to be almost like the stock market, and you can see over time how this card is done. Like this card, when it first came out, was selling for $50, and then it dropped down to like $30. And over the last month, they've been selling for like $23 a piece. And then you can just pick, I want this card, and there's going to be a whole bunch of them listed, almost like the old days of Amazon with like used books. Okay. Like which one do you want? And most of them are going to be right in that range. Okay. Right. So it's really a good place. Like instead of opening up millions of packs, most people who play card games competitively are buying their cards one-offs online like this now. They're not going and opening up a bunch of booster packs. So TCG Card Player, now one of the things I would say this would be a benefit for eBay to buy is just like we've talked about with Amazon and other companies being like logistics companies that have all the infrastructure built. When eBay already moved over to the ability to like scan a card and then list it based off of that, that was a game changer. Now, if you all of a sudden have literally all of the data over the course of history of what cards have sold for in various conditions and what they're currently selling for, just like the stock market, like it's like it's $30 a share, and then now it's up to 32, and then that's so you can almost watch live like what cards are going for, right? So if eBay now has all of this data, it could potentially make listing things easier for them. It could make all kinds of stuff so much easier. There's other websites that kind of do similar things, like MTG Goldfish, which does specifically for Magic the Gathering. That's mostly more of like just a price value. But you got to figure they're buying this. So not only does TCG Player make money like eBay because they take a cut. Yeah. So there's got to be profit margin just on what the company does. But I think more than anything, they've just bought out the number one like competitive card market, trading card game market company. So not only their profits, but also all their data, all of their infrastructure, all the stuff in the back. And so if they can then incorporate some of that into their own eBay platform as well, it's a win-win. So I definitely see why a company like this would do that. I almost look at it like when I used to work at DirecTV, when like DirecTV bought Blockbuster. It was like, or maybe it was Dish, one of them bought Blockbuster. And it's like, oh, there's no more Blockbusters. Why would they do that? Like, that's weird. Well, the reason why is because Blockbuster owned the rights to a certain number of movies, right? And when they bought that, what they were doing wasn't just buying, because it wasn't like they're like, now we own this Blockbuster building. Yeah. But what they wanted was the rights to certain movies that Blockbuster owned. Okay. And so I kind of look at like, that's kind of what eBay is doing here. Like they're not just buying the company and the profits that company brings, which they are doing that, but they're also buying all that comes with it, all of the data, all of the information, all of the infrastructure that's already set up. So I don't know. I mean, it could be a really wise move. I think the competitive card game, it's never died and it's only gotten bigger. And it's pretty locked in too, which is kind of nice. I mean, new games come out occasionally and they have their ups and downs, but you're looking at like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering are cards that have been around for decades now, and they're still huge fan bases. And these cards are releasing new ones all the time. So it's like a constant NFT or stock market type thing that's always going to do well. Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know. You get way more info. I didn't know. Like I learned a lot. So I it's funny because I have a bunch of Pokemon cards. I have all kinds of stuff. I'm just going to sit on it. I mean, TCG Player might be a good place to like look, because then again, you can just scan the card or like look up the name of the card, and you'll literally, like I said, can see, almost like imagine if Terapeak was like a little bit better and just gave you like a stock market graph. Yeah, I've seen that with like I've put like some baseball cards on eBay and it does it. So yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Hey, last topic here. So I think this is interesting. I wanted to help people out with sourcing out there. So I think we talk about Department 56 a lot, right? We talk about the Christmas stuff, but do you guys know that the biggest selling holiday is Halloween, hands down? And it'll happen again. So Party City is hiring 20,000 people, expecting an epic Halloween. Really, Party City? Not Spirit? The Spirit of Halloween. I know, right? Party City. Yeah, that's true, right? Why is it? Anyways, it's interesting. It says Party City is hiring 20,000 workers in the coming weeks, outpacing the number of new employees hired in the past years during this time period. The retailer last year hired 17,000 workers ahead of the Halloween season. And the only reason I share this, okay, so here's a few things to pay attention to. Let's see here. I'm
they talk about trends. I'm looking at trends here. Oh, here you go. Movies and social media will again heavily influence costume trends this year. Jurassic World, Hocus Pocus 2. I didn't even know that was a thing. Top Gun costumes will be big. Top Gun has been a huge success in costumes even before the sequel. Celebrities and their social antics have also inspired costumes in 2022. And then they mentioned some celebrities which are annoying. And one item that's already in big demand is, thanks to Harry Styles, is a Party City cowboy hat. I don't know. Anyways, the reason I tell you is this. Halloween sells really well. And I know we're already, into end of August and September. But if you have Halloween stuff, list it now. Yeah. Department 56 Halloween stuff sells so fast compared to
I let a lot of that go one time because I didn't know, and I was like, I was preoccupied with other stuff, and I was like, oh, it's like Halloween Department 56. I bet it's not as good.
It probably was. I'm sorry, but I think that's a recent thing.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, because 4 years ago,
I feel like I looked up at least one of the things. And it's like,
I mean, I just recently sold one. It was like it was something about. It was just a little. It was a witch that's supposed to be like curses the prince, and I paid $30 and I sold it for like $130 like in a week.
Nice.
It was crazy. So, and I've sold other stuff too. So keep an eye out for Halloween. And by the way, if you see those bomber jackets, I do think Top Gun is going to be, that's kind of like our bolo. It's not my bolo, but it's a pre-bolo.
Yeah. I mean, that's just something to think about with like your listings is with things like that is you can just put in the title or in the description, like would be a great Halloween costume, Top Gun Halloween costume. Mm-hmm. If you've got a bomber jacket, because some people are just going to look for bomber jackets, but like some people might be like Top Gun Halloween bomber, you know what I mean? And so if yours is pulling up in those where other people's aren't, that's a good thing. They might not even put in bomber jacket. They just might type in Top Gun costume. And if your listing comes up and it's just a random bomber jacket, hey, it's a win. So that's a good thing too. It kind of reminds me, I saw article from a satire website that said once bustling mall, now just 300 Spirit Halloweens and 5 Starbucks.
It's true.
Because that's how those Spirit Halloweens can be. Like sometimes it's like, wait, there's 2 of them in that same like parking lot. Like, how is that even possible?
It's wild. If you were to tell me when, back in the 90s, like that there would be a store that was fully devoted to Halloween, I'd be like, you're nuts. But now those are like, there's like lines, like the parking lot's crazy.
It's no joke.
And those stores are an experience. They really are an experience. So we're not sponsored by them, just to let you know.
Yeah.
So, all right. Are we ready? Are we ready to share some ways to make money?
You know it.
Bolo. What's your bolo? What is your bolo, Mike?
So my bolo actually comes from our store buyout that we're gonna do for Whatnot. Looking through some stuff and I'm like, oh, here's an old GoPro. Sweet. I'm like, oh, it's a Hero 4. This is an older one. Now they're on like Hero 12. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like 9 now, I think. And they do all kinds of crazy things that they didn't do before. So Hero 4 is pretty old. So I look it up and they're going for like $90, selling pretty consistently. And then so I'm looking up other older models of GoPros, and it's like, wow, like it's pretty amazing that these as older models and older versions still go for good money. And this is something to consider when you're at garage sales, because I feel like thrift stores, they see any electronic camera device thing and they're just going to list it high just because they think, well, it's an electronic, it's worth a bunch of money. Yeah. But if you're at a garage sale or if you're at a swap meet, you might do well looking at old GoPros, because if sometimes GoPros for some people or cameras like that are like cell phones. They always get the new model. And so if you're like, oh, that's the model from like 8 years ago, I don't know, $5. You know what I mean? Like people are just like, that's an old one. I don't care. Like there's no way that's worth anything, because the reality is like a phone from 10 years ago, it can't even work on networks anymore. So people think the same thing with cameras. And for whatever reason, some of those older ones still have a following. People like them. People know them. They maybe want 2 cameras that are the exact same so that they can shoot similar color profiles. There's various reasons people might want old ones. But yeah, so don't pass up old GoPros just because they're old, because there's still a market for them.
There you go.
Now, what about you?
My bolo comes from, I hope I didn't share this before, but I had that huge haul. I shared this in the last update episode of all the Nintendo stuff that I picked up for free. And in there, the most valuable was not the consoles, was not the games, but 2 boxes and 2 manuals that were there. So there was a Kid Icarus NES box and manual, and there was a Super Mario Brothers 2 box and manual. So with the cartridges, so the cartridge alone maybe sell for like $20, but with the box and the manual and the cartridge all together, $200 to $300. So I've seen some boxes. Like I saw one Kid Icarus box sell for I want to say it was close to $100.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because if you consider most people are getting rid of manuals, they're getting rid of boxes, but not as many people get rid of the games. So there's going to be more games than there are boxes and manuals. And so if it is a game that's valuable and people want complete, if you're a collector, then yeah, you'd be willing to buy the box and the manual because you probably already have the game. Or if you are going to buy it and you're a collector, you're going to want the complete thing and not one that's just the game. So you're willing to pay more. That could even be, I bet you there's people who do that. Like all they do is buy the different parts and put them together and then sell them complete and then make a little bit of profit off of that. So yeah, it's a good bolo.
I want to just throw in a random bolo. I had 2 sales during the show. Football jackets, right? Like football season, they're on the corner. Ooh. And people are buying. And same buyer buy to them. All right, so here's just funny. I just mentioned that. Okay, don't put your stuff on auction. People, when they put stuff on auction, they don't make a lot of money. Like somebody just bought a Kid Icarus game box and manual for $68. But look at somebody just sold a messed up box for $90.
Wow.
Don't do auction. Just don't.
Or know that you can be a eBay arbitrage person.
Somebody else sold. Yeah, you could. Somebody else sold the box, cartridge, and manual for $170. Here's $305. You can't use bidding as comps because I think you'll just lose money. Yeah. So, all right. So that is my bolo. All right. Before we move forward, what are we looking forward to? Well, I'm looking forward to using my skull shaver every day. And I got to tell you, the other day, Mike gets on my case about this, but my skull shaver was at 6% and it died before I used it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take care of a few things. I'm going to put it to charge and hopefully I can use it before I hit the road. Sure enough, I let it charge to 10%. It was good enough to shave my entire head.
Yeah, I mean, the battery lasts so long.
And literally it was a few minutes.
Yeah, the battery lasts so long that you might as well charge it when it gets to 50% because you've been using it for weeks. You know what I mean? So it's a great product. I actually bring mine with me to the gym, and sometimes I have a chance to do it before I get to work. Sometimes, like this morning, I actually got to work and I'm a teacher and students are about ready to walk into my room in a few minutes. And I'm like, oh man, I forgot to shave my head. Pull out my skull shaver, shave real quick in my classroom. Nobody knows. There you go. It's smooth. It's easy. It's a great product. So use promo code HUSTLE.
Yep. Capital H,
and you'll get a little kickback.
So yeah, love that skull shaver. All right. So what are you looking forward to here?
Obviously the whatnot auction. Now the question is, we haven't determined a time. We told everybody to follow us and to join, but do we have at least an estimated or a way that follow us on social media? No matter what, we'll post the time if it changes or anything on Instagram, on Twitter, so follow us on the social medias if you're not. But what's a good roundabout time?
Well, it is Labor Day, so
say afternoon.
It's up to you. I'll let you determine because I always have days off. This is your day off.
Yeah. Okay. So got to get over here. We got to organize the stuff, set it up, take a couple hours. So maybe one-ish.
One-ish. All right, let's do that. So 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
So join us on Whatnot. Have a good time. Make some money. Buy some good stuff. There's some good stuff there. So check us out. And the only thing I'm not looking forward to is all the shipping after.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll see how it goes, but maybe we'll streamline it.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen.
I got a couple ideas on that. So we'll see. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to, well, I'm absolutely not looking forward to moving. I hate moving so much.
Yeah.
But I'm excited I'm going to be 7 or 8 minutes closer to the freeway, which is going to be nice. So that's going to shave 15 minutes off my commute every day, round trip. And then I think my inventory is going to be closer at hand.
Okay.
maybe not in the best position. Like we're moving to a very small place. Right now, my inventory is in a shed that I have to drive to. Like I have to go down a hill and up another hill and around a corner. It's not, you can't really walk to it where I live. So it's a process. Something sells or somebody asks a question and it's like, I got to go get in the car, turn the car around in the parking lot, drive down to where it's at, drive to the shed and then check and then drive back. Or if something sells or ships, like all of that stuff, it's a little bit of pain. So if I could just open up a door into another room and do it, like I think I'm gonna be more willing to list. I'm gonna be more willing to answer questions in a timely manner, all those things. So there has to be a silver lining to this move. I'm telling myself that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. What about you?
I'm finalizing my taxes. I'm finally gonna be done with it.
Finally, you're gonna get done and then just have to turn around and do them again.
I know, but I just needed that time. My life, there's a lot going on. We don't share a lot on the podcast, but we do have lives. We have kids and you know, I don't share this too much, but like in California, there's a lot of people not sending their kids to like schools. They're trying to do the homeschool. So I teach some homeschool classes and my class have grown exponentially. And so that took up a lot of my time. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And so I needed that extra time. So it's going to be a nice relief to be done with it. I do need to figure out how to do better bookkeeping. Because I think the reason I was delayed was just because I just wasn't ready, you know, and I want to make sure I didn't want to lose money. And then I'm just, you know, I'm very pumped about that. It was just a spur of the moment decision that, you know, I said, hey, Mike, what do you think? And we're like, you know what, let's do this. We bought a store. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to more sourcing. I want to keep sourcing. I'm actually right now I have way more than I can list, but I do think this Q4 secondary market's going to do very well. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you all gained at least a few things to help you in your reselling business, or if anything, hopefully, you know, you are entertained. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling late.
Peace.